Good morning, the birds are singing today. It's quite dull, but apparently according to my husband it's going to be a bit sunny later on. Hopefully it will. It's about 16 degrees today, but the forecast says that next week we're going to be in the 20s, so that's going to be a bit of a change for us all. So today's video is going to be in 3 parts really. I'm starting with the first part, which I'm classing as the good, and then we'll move on to the other parts and I'll let you know what they're called when we actually get to them. So everything's blooming. The pink tree in the background, that's a crabapple, beautiful blossom, and then very dark fruit about the size of a 10p piece that stays on the tree all through the winter time, which is really good for the birds. All the apple blossom is out at the moment and looking beautiful. Down here I've got a row. This is actually the rose garden, or the ex-rose garden should I say. I've taken most of the roses out. If you've been following my videos you'll see how I've spoken about what I'm doing with the roses that I take out from here. So on the edge of what I called the rose garden, I planted a row of Cox's apple trees, and I'm sort of thinking that they might form some sort of hedge because I planted them about 18 inches apart. So I have seen on other videos where people have chopped them off at about 3 foot high and treated them like a hedge, and they've still grown apples and they look quite nice really. So I am thinking along those lines of doing something like that. I think William the pheasant's around somewhere. I can hear him in the background. So there's lots of good things going on. This apple tree up here, it's not a crab apple, it's actually a named variety. The blossom on it's quite pink actually compared to all the other apple trees. I'm just seeing if I can find a tag on it. I have tried to label all of my trees. Isn't that blossom really sweet? And it's nice to see all the bees buzzing around today. Well, I can't find a label on that one, so I don't know what's happened to that. So we'll have to wait and see when we get some apples, see if I can figure out what it might be from the apples. This little apple here is called Tickled Pink. It's one that I bought in quite a long while ago actually now, and it's always struggled. So it's been eaten a few times at the bottom by the rabbits, so it's got a cage around it now. But it does look like it's actually going to start to grow now, so I've got high hopes for that one. It's a red fleshed apple. I think it's available in most of the garden centres around. So I've got lots of work to do. The weeds are just crazy. Crazy, excuse me, a bit gruff this morning. Crazy at the moment. I'm still moving roses, would you believe? I know I shouldn't be, but at the end of the day, David Austin do sell bare rooted roses up until the end of April, so I'm thinking any of mine that have not really started to leaf out yet, I should be okay to move those. This is the Asian pear tree that I showed you in an earlier video, earlier in the year. It was full of blossom. The blossom's gone now, but I'm quite hopeful for fruit this year, because just looking at some of the, I don't actually know what they're called, the bits where the blossom was, if I can get a bit into a picture for you. There we go. It does look like some of it might be starting to develop, so we'll keep an eye on that. That'll be quite exciting if we get some good fruit this year. Last year I think I got either 2 or 3 Asian pears, and that was the first year that I'd had any pears on it. I think the trouble is in the past, because it's coming to bloom, to blossom so early in the year, and other years we've had frosts really in April, and I think it's just damaged the blossom, and the bees weren't flying, and so that's why I didn't really get any fruit. This is a Concord pear. Look at all the fruit to come on this one. Each one of these little stems should hold a pear. I'll have to thin them out because you just can't have that many pears growing on one bunch, because they would just be so small. So anyway, so as I say, this is a video of 3 parts. So this is all the good, because there's nothing better than seeing all these lovely fruit trees. These are all apple trees, and they're just wonderful and covered in blossom. Still don't really know what that bird is. If anybody's got an idea, I would be grateful if you let me know. I'm just panning round now. This is just the orchard that I'm showing you, which is where the main fruit trees are. We planted this quite early on, because when we moved here we brought with us about half a dozen apple trees, a couple of plum trees, and I think a couple of pear trees. Yeah, the Burr Hardy and the Doyen de Comis we brought with us, and they went in the ground fairly straight away really, because they were pretty pot bound. I bought those from a garden centre that was closing down, so they were in the sale, and as I'm a bit of a bargain hunter, I couldn't resist that, I'm afraid, so I had to buy them. Okay, so we'll move on now to the next section. So now we're walking along the south dyke side. The ditch or dyke is here. You can't really see it very well, it's full of reeds, but it's basically about 6 foot deep. There is water in the bottom. Sometimes in the summer, where there's an area that hasn't got reeds in, we do actually get ducks in there, and we've had, in the past, we've had a brood of ducklings, which was quite a nice find. So this is where the deer tend to come down into the garden. Now, this is where I'm showing you the bad. This poor old willow tree here. As you can see, the deer have just decimated it. They're such vandals, and it's not just one tree. They just, I don't know why they do it, because You would think they want, there's another one, look, an alder tree. You would think they want to preserve the trees because it's part of what, at the end of the day, what is their home or their habitat. Although they don't actually live here, they live over the way. There's a bit of a wooded area, and I'm sure they come from over there because there's definitely nowhere here that I've seen where they live. So again, we've got another willow. This is the reason that I started coppicing. That branch is dead, look, because of that damage. This is the reason that I started to coppice my willow trees, or poppice, which is cutting them off about 3 foot high, and that stops the deer from, I've discovered anyway that seems to stop the deer from doing the damage. Here's a little bit where the deer goes through. You can see a definite area down there, and another bit. Difficult really for you to make it out, but basically they've trodden the soil down bare on the dike side so that they can cross over the dike. That's probably a better view of the field next door and the dike, full of reeds, and then our bit of the bank. But yeah, so basically that's the ugly. No, actually that's the bad. We'll be coming across the ugly in a moment. So basically we've had the good, we've had the bad, and now we're going to be going back and have a look at the absolute ugly. And believe me, as ugly things go, this is definitely pretty ugly. So now I'm showing you a blackcurrant bush. We've got 3 of those along here. Oops, nearly tripped over. Cane in the ground, which have got loads of fruit, and they really do deserve to be well looked after because they'll be full of blackberries, blackcurrants soon. God, I'm slipping up a lot today. But part of the ugly is this. Look at all these weeds, just full of weeds. Really, really embarrassingly bad. But that's not the whole story. This is supposed to be a strawberry bed, a raised bed with strawberries in. Now talk about weedy. That's embarrassingly bad. The paths between. That's the second raised bed. Path between. The third raised bed. This is where all my young trees are, my young fruit trees. Got a couple of eucalyptus at the end. Look at the state of this. It's a disgrace, isn't it? An absolute disgrace. To be honest, I'm struggling really to keep on top of all the weeds. That's the path between the third and the fourth bed. This is, I had to have sprayed a little bit. I don't like to spray, but it's a case of really having to. And then this is the next raised bed. Got a few leaks here. And it just goes on, really. Another embarrassingly bad area. It's just a time thing, really. I've been so busy moving roses this year that I just haven't kept on top of the weeds. I've got a really nice dockleaf plant there, look. one to be proud of. Not. So yeah, once I've finished moving these roses, I'm really going to have to get in here and do something really. I'm sorry to show you the ugly. It's not nice really, so I'll just leave you with a pan of the garden just to leave it on a good note, because I don't want to put too much negativity into your day. Otherwise the rest of the beds are looking fairly neat. I've still got my cages around the roses. Hopefully they can come off soon, because at the end of the day it's a shame to spoil the beauty of the rose by having a wire mesh around it. This bed I've planted up, I've gone for pinks this year. It was a bit of a mishmash, so I've got Gentle Hermione, I've got the Anniversary Rose, Glorious Parfumer, Olivia Rose Austin, I've got one called Honeybee, a Litchfield Angel. Again, I've replanted the whole of these beds. I've got a beautiful lilac here. It's absolutely stunning when it comes out. It's just starting to come out now, and it smells amazing. And then on the other side I have a slightly more bluey coloured one, so I've got one either side of the path, which is really nice. I'm hoping in the future to put some sort of a water feature somewhere. We haven't got any water at all in the garden at the moment, and I'm quite liking the idea of a Japanese style shallow rivery type of thing. I'm looking online at the moment at all the YouTube videos that I can find for a bit of inspiration. So I'm sort of thinking where to put it really. I'm not sure at the moment where it will go, but we've got a few areas in mind. The trees are growing so big. This year, I don't know why, but this year they just seem to have really taken off. Not just in the actual garden, but in the woodland as well. They've just gone crazy, which is nice. But I'm just wondering why we've had all this sudden growth. Got another Olivia Rose Austin here, protected by a cage. And another one. My roses are not very tall at all at the moment. The trouble is, because I moved a lot of them, these have all been moved apart from the Olivia Rose. They've all been moved, so that stunts the growth a little bit, I suppose. But also I've had rabbits eating everything, and also I was very late pruning. That one's a Timeless Pink. It's looking quite healthy. I do think it's very important that you mulch your roses. I'm a great believer in making homemade compost, and I just think if you can keep the soil moist, then it will feed the rose as well, and also cut down on the need to water. This is a Prunus cerula. It's got lovely bark. It sort of peels off in strips, but it's a lovely mahogany colour. This is a new rose to me this year. It's called Marlis. It's a pink rose and it's got massive flowers. Those box balls need trimming up. These 4 roses are all planted newly in this bed this year. This rose is Queen of Denmark, which is an old rose, and she'll have beautiful pink, pale pink blossom, which smells really nice. And she flowers only once in the year. So then after that I'm going to trim her down quite sharply to give the other roses a chance to get some light. These are all newly planted roses that I've moved from the rose garden. Just waiting for them to start putting a bit of growth on, really, because at the moment a lot of them look very small and sad. That's my poet's wife. Poor thing, there's nothing there. And last year that was 4 foot by 4 foot. So hopefully it will recover. So anyway, this is basically the south half of the garden that I'm showing you now. It's the first area that we established, well made, because as you know, you probably know if you've watched a few of my videos, this was just a plain ploughed up field, and there was just a line of conifers. Well, actually this, I'll show you the line. It's just a little seating area. So I don't know if you can see the conifers here in front of the polytunnel. So these conifers at the back, they're the dark ones. They now go from here to the dike side on the south side, but they basically were planted about 2 meters away from the edge of the property. This bit that we're looking at now is a kitchen that we had extended. We had that put on, so the conifers would have gone in the same line as this last tree here, basically 2 meters straight across, and they were tall, and the rest of it was just wasteland, just weeds, a total mess really. So I went to work one day, we'd bought a rotavator, and my husband, I'd got a picture out of a magazine of an area with box balls like the ones that we've got here, and so my husband set to with the rotavator, and when I came home he'd rotavated this whole area I'm just showing you now, and that's basically where we started. And it's an area of about, I would say, probably 12 meters by about 8 meters. And then we put the paths down. Bearing in mind we've been doing this over the last 15 years, it's all been quite a slow progression, but yes, we put the paths down, and it went from there really. So there's quite a lot to do at the minute. I'll show you the old rose garden another day, because I need to get a bit of inspiration in what to do in that area, because it's just going to grow loads of weeds if I leave it empty. That's a beautiful little acer, I'll show you there, look. I repotted this the other day, and since I repotted it, it's really taken off. And I've got another couple I bought a couple of years ago in tiny little pots from B&Q, so I've just potted those on as well, so hopefully now they'll start to grow as well. So anyway, I'll call that it for today, and hopefully you'll see me in the next video. So have a great day. Bye for now.